Hello everyone, in this video we will talk about the Unix environment variables. A very important concept in Unix is the environment, which is composed of a set of environment variables and their current settings. Some settings are so common that we want all the processes have access to these. For example, a running process may want to know the exact location of its user home directory, so it can save a file there, or may want to know the current date and time, so it can save a log file. Such common settings are kept in global or environment level variables, which are called the environment variables. Every process in the system has access to these environment variables values via a querying mechanism. That is, the process queries the values of a certain environment variable if and when it needs that value. This mechanism of using environment variables for system-level settings is such a practical idea that it also exists in non-Unix systems, notably Windows, although the names of environment variables in Windows can be different. We can see the list of currently existing environment variables using the command printf. Let's talk about some of the important ones. So, for example, home here. This contains the location of the user's home directory. The pwv here, it points to the current working directory. So if I change my location now, go for example to the course folder, and query the environment variables again, I will see that the value of the current working directory has changed to show my current location. There is also a nice variable called old pwv, which is the old working directory. This points to the working directory before I change my current directory. This is useful because I can use it as a shortcut in cd. The cd command used with a dash, it takes me to the previous folder that I was in, which was my home. Now if I query the print environment again, my old pwd is now the course folder, and if I use again cd with a dash, then I find myself in the previous directory. This is quite useful if you quickly want to go to the previous directory or change between two directories quickly. Another interesting variable here is this ps1. This contains the description of how your prompt looks like. We can change its value to arrange for fancy prompts for ourselves. We will have a look at how to do this in the next video. This long variable here, and in general the variables that start with lc, these are the locale related environment variables that you have been setting in the previous weeks. Long is used to set the default language locale. For example, if the locale values are NUS, then the language will be set to United States English. Different aspects of the localization are controlled by individual LC variables, like LC ctype, LC date, and such. And LC all can be used to force all the same locale for all aspects. Now, one final very important variable is the path. The path is a list of directories that programs search to find other programs. We will come back to this next week. As one important case, when we give a command, such as ls, then the bash searches for that command until under the directories that are listed in path. Remember that commands are programs too, and they have a place in our file system. Remember also that we can see their place using the command which. So my ls program lives under this path. Path includes a list of possible directories that we want our bash to search for when we give it a command. Bash goes through this list in this order. First this directory, then this directory, then this directory. The directories are separated by the colon. It searches all these directories one by one, If it finds a matching name, it executes this program. So let's see how it goes when we execute the command ls. Bash is going to start searching for the directories listed in my path. So, which directories are in my path variable? The common way to see the value of an environment variable is by using the echo command and preceding the variable name with a $sign. This means the value of the path variable. This is going to print me the current value. So, Bash starts searching for ls, starting from the Anaconda bin directory, which doesn't include an ls. Then it goes into the Anaconda 3 conda bin directory, no ls, USR local bin, no ls. So it will keep searching until it comes to the bin directory, which does include this ls program. So when it's here at bin, it is going to find finally this ls that we are looking for, and it's going to be executed. Path variable is important for us because when we install new programs in our system, or when we write our own programs or scripts, we may want to add their paths to the path variable so that Bash and other programs can find them. In other words, it is possible and sometimes useful for us to change the values of some environment variables or set up new ones. Let's see now how we can do this. We can set up a new value for an environment variable using the command export. Export can be used both to create new environment variables and also to change the values of existing ones. For example, we can define a variable to point to the location of our course directory. I will define a variable kick, for example, whose value will be equal to the location of my course directory. We can view the value of this kick variable using the echo command and putting a $sign before the variable name. So note that when we are setting the variable, we don't use the $, but when we are using its value, such as printing its value or using its value elsewhere, we are going to need this $sign. If we just write the name without any dollars, Bash is going to think that this kick is a string and it's going to show me itself as its value. If I put a $, before the name, this means this kick is a variable, so fetch me its value. I can also use other variables in defining the values of variables. For example, instead of describing my home directory explicitly here, I could have said that this folder stands under my home directory, which is defined by the home environment variable. Note here that because we are going to use the value of the home variable, I will need the $sign again. Basically, the only times that we don't use the dollar is when setting up the value for a variable. So you can also see such a usage as to take this new value into double quotes. This is a good practice. If you have a space somewhere here, then you will need to use double quotes around the value. So maybe it's a good idea to get used to using quotes like this. So now let's check again the value of the kick variable, and this is this folder. Now I can use this variable in my other commands, or if I want in my programs or scripts. For example, I can use it to quickly change directory, which uses this value as the argument to the change directory command. If I echo for a variable that I didn't set yet, then I will get an empty space. Now let's see a more useful application. Specifically, we will see how we can edit the path variable so that Bash program can find our new programs or scripts. So if we go to week 5, In the previous videos, you already prepared this script freklist.sh. Now, if you are, for example, under your home folder, you can run this freklist.sh by describing its path to the bash. So you can say, I want to run under my home folder this course directory week 5 freklist.sh, and I want to run it with lifeofp.txt. I need to give an output file here. Yes, so we can run it like this. Now that we have defined the kick variable, we can also use it in describing the place of the freklist. Or if we are already in this course folder, then another potential way to run this script is to describe its location using the dot shortcut, which means run freklist.sh, which is under my current directory, and then with the arguments. However, if you happen to add the location of freklist, which is this folder, to your path variable, then you don't need to describe its location anymore. So, what I want is to be able to run this freklist.sh without giving it any path. Normally, if I do this, bash is going to complain, command is not found. That's because freklist isn't included in any of the directories that are currently listed in my path. But I can change my path. So, say I will add this path, this new directory, to my path variable. This is how I make the addition. So, I describe a new path that is composed of the previous path, which is added with this new value. So when changing a variable, an important variable like path, you generally want to keep the old value as well. You don't want to completely override it, because this path already includes a lot of important folders. We just want to add an additional folder at the end. We do this by using the previous value of the path. Because we are using the previous value, we use the $sign. Then we say we are going to make an addition using the column, and then we add the new value. Now let's echo the new value of the path variable. We will see this folder at the end. Now if I go and run the freklist.sh without describing its path whatsoever, then I don't get any errors. The command ran as it should. The bash went through all the directories here one by one, and in the final directory it managed to find the script freklist.sh, and it ran this script from this location. Note that setting the path variable to include directories for newly installed software is something that you may come across at some point. There is an analogous variable called Python path, where Python should check for newly installed libraries and software, is also very common to come across. We will talk more about these variables next week when installing software. Note that Windows also has an analogous environment variable called path between percentage signs. If you are working on Windows, I don't mean the Ubuntu on Windows. For our intents and purposes, Ubuntu on Windows is a Linux system. If you are working on Windows itself, installing software on your Windows operating system, then at some point you may need to modify this variable to show the location of your new software. So, to sum up, the export command is used for setting an environment variable. However, there is one problem. The lifetime of an export setting is limited to the terminal that it's executed at. If you open a new terminal and let's query the value of the path variable here, now you don't see anymore the new directory that we added to the end of path. The new value of path is valid only for our original terminal and for any process that is started from this terminal, like FretList. Now this is a big problem if there are settings that you want to be permanent. For example, when you add a new directory to your path, you typically want that to be valid for all terminals from now on. Therefore, we need a second mechanism to make these settings valid for all terminals. The way to do is using the configuration files, and we will see about this in the next video.